Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast. My name is Monty Wyatt, and I'm here to take you on a journey into the world of coaching, exploring its many different facets and uncovering its profound impact on individuals, businesses, and executives alike. We'll be delving into real-life case studies combined with in-depth research from coaching experts to give you a better understanding of why coaching works today. So if you're ready to begin your exploration into the power of coaching, then let's get started. Before we get into this month's episode, here's a short message from Adding Zero's Executive Development. As CEO, you demand performance and results from your team. If you're committed to developing a cohesive, driven organization that achieves successful outcomes every single month, we need to talk. It's time to see how organizational and executive development from Adding Zeros can help. We focus on strategic planning, executive coaching, team alignment and engagement, organizational culture, and clarity of implementation. Contact Monty Wyatt by booking an appointment at www.addZerosNow.com. That's ADDZEROSNOW.com, AddZerosNow.com. If you're ready, now is the time. I have a few coaching spots available for 2025. Lock in your team today. Now let's begin today's episode. Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast, where we talk about the impact of coaching, growing businesses, and personal development. My name is Monty Wyatt. I'm your host today. And if you're a CEO, executive, or business owner, then this is the show for you. We call our audience the achiever because you're always striving for the next level. We have an amazing coach with us today, and we're going to learn a few things on transition, on career development, and hear about how he's helped other folks. We've got with us today Charles Livings, and Charles is a renowned expert in career development coaching, team resilience training, and communications consulting. He's based out of Central Alabama and has dedicated over 20 years in helping individuals and organizations reach their peak performance. So Charles, welcome to Why Coaching Works.
Thank you, Monty. I appreciate that. I'm excited to be here with you today.
Well, I appreciate your time and look forward to hearing more about you and how you help folks and how you can share with our audience, the achiever, how they can benefit from coaching as well. So, just to kick us off, tell us a little story. Tell us how you got into coaching and what made you become a coach.
Well, what got me into coaching was being coached way back in the day. We had a couple senior NCOs and field grade officers fresh back from Vietnam and a old Boy Scout troop, and they just started coaching us up and teaching us how that the maximum effective range of any excuse was 0 friggin' meters in the old English that they even used. And from there, everything is kind of smooth sailing. But after that, I was in communication and marketing quite a bit. And with that, then of course the trick for most leadership situations is being able to communicate effectively, hence the communications and public speaking background, and then obviously motivating your team. And so with that in mind, I've been doing that in one form or another for quite a while. Of course, teaching at university level and community colleges around the region as an adjunct faculty for many years. And I've been, honored a couple times for that that acumen, teaching in the classroom and coaching those young freshmen and sophomores up in public speaking and different communication classes that they had to take. And then I've also imported that out into another space, helping veterans transition out of the military and into gainful civilian careers, which brought me into talent acquisition and then talent retention. So for me, it's really about who your frontline people are and how they represent you and the rest of your team out there, whether they're facing outward to the public and your clientele or facing inward and interacting with, across departments, that sort of thing. So the being aware of who the audience is and how to help them to solve problems, to meet needs. That's what it's all about. And so as those CEOs and leaders are looking for those resources, that's where I've been able to step in and just provide some guardrails for them, a little bit of left-right limits, and then keep shepherding them forward as they achieve that.
Well, that's wonderful. I love hearing all the impact that you have on the world. You impact students, you impact veterans, you impact business owners. So that's fantastic. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's one of the unique things
Thank
that
you
I
for
like
that.
about our show is when we interview different coaches, we interview different folks that are coaching, I always ask the question, how do you define coaching? And so I want to hear in your mind, how do you define coaching and what does that mean to you?
Monty, thanks so much for asking that. That's a great question. And of course, it's one of those things that I examine every time I'm starting to interact with somebody about bringing the most value out of that conversation, not just for me to take away, but also for them. Can I add value to the discussion, to the conversation? And so for me, that coaching item is to try to help everybody walk away from the discussion with value and find value in those interactions. It is oftentimes that worker bee out there on the front line is the one they figured a way to innovate and work around whatever a problem because they didn't have the right equipment, they didn't have the right tool or whatever, but they made it work anyway, right? And so we're amazed to find that person on the line and see what they're doing and how they were successful at it. And so for me, when I think about coaching, I'm thinking about how do we help them be successful? Are there resources that they need, or are they underutilizing resources that they have? And in each of these situations, it's really about meeting the people where they are and trying to understand what are their goals, where they want to be, and can we figure out a strategy and a timeline to make that happen for them in a reasonable manner.
I love that. The big thing that I took away from what you just shared is it's about adding value to others. And when you add value
Exactly.
to others, they can see things differently, they can grow, they can be challenged. And so value add is what coaching means. And I loved how you ended that. It's where you currently at. Let's set some goals and what strategies and timelines do we need to put into place. So I think that's a fantastic way to define coaching is being value added to other folks. So us talk
Right.
about that. I'd love to hear an example of where you've added value to an individual and what their impact was after your work with them.
Um, I guess I'm going to go back about 12 years ago. I was asked to stand up an expansion effort for a small nonprofit called Still Serving Veterans. And I was asked to do it over near Fort Moore, what used to be Fort Benning, and the infantry school over there. Um, Being a civilian, I understood that I had a credibility gap with infantry guys and gals. So with that in mind, I went to the local Department of Labor and I said, I need somebody that can help me just a little part time with working with some veterans. And interestingly, in about 12 hours, I got a call and we met up. We had a cup of coffee. And this one fella, his name was Jeremy, and he is very proud of being an 11 Bravo, a knuckle dragging grunt. Okay. He reveled in that. And I said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have to reach as many of these folks as we can. And so you're going to run point on this. This is going to be your shop. You're the NCO, you're the senior NCO. And so what I need you to do is bring the senior NCO skills that you have to helping Joe and Jane as they're coming out the gate. He leaned into that, and we took off. And so very quickly, because of his network, and then we started leveraging that network and my network together, we were able to help guys write resumes, get them out to interviews, get them into networking situations. We'd have coffee clutches and that sort of thing, and just start showing off the talent. And got them involved as volunteers for the nonprofit to help other people get jobs. They didn't realize it, but what we actually had them doing is demonstrating their teamwork skills, demonstrating their planning skills, demonstrating their uh, uh, coordination skills, right, and their collaboration skills. Blew people's minds that they were out there doing this and taking care of all this for me. And I just kind of said, what do you guys want to do? What do you think we should do on this? And they launched the ideas. I said, okay, sounds great. Let's make that happen. What do you need? And so, well, we need a source for coffee. Okay, let me go talk to the Starbucks manager. And they have a veterans program inside of Starbucks. So we kicked that off. They started bringing coffee. They started bringing their veteran employees and talking about the opportunities with Starbucks, and magic was made. It was wonderful just watching people come together because they all had that particular need. They needed talent. They needed a job. They demonstrated their talents, and whammo, the rest is history. So it was really exciting. And I also see it with my public speaking classes that I have these freshmen and sophomores that are a little nervous about getting up in front of people and speaking. And so we just do some little exercises, and they start talking in class and talking to each other and start working with each other. And next thing you know, they're up giving 5 and 10 minute presentations, and don't think anything about it anymore. It's pretty interesting to watch them grow and watch them blossom right where they're planted.
Absolutely. I'm gonna ask you to go a little bit deeper into that one because I know there's some folks out there, our audience, the achiever, that's always looking how to get better at speaking skills, how to get better at getting in
Sure.
front of crowds and audiences. Give us a tip or two on what someone should do to help become more confident or more focused in front of an audience as you're giving a presentation or you're even speaking in public.
Sure. Well, obviously, the best thing to do is have a solid plan, right? And then once you have that good plan, then execute the plan. I have a couple templates that I use that I give my students and my clients as they're wanting to get better at that. I think oftentimes the two easiest things to fix for most people is having a solid attention gainer as the first thing out of your mouth as you're talking. Be sure to smile because people respond to that. It's a positive thing universally. Be excited to be there, even when it's bad news. Be excited to be with the group that's going to help you solve and respond in an appropriate way to this bad news. So first thing is have a great attention gainer and have a solid conclusion. I get really annoyed with TED Talks that every presentation that they have, they end with thank you, as opposed to taking that last few moments and leaving the audience with value, right? Leave them with a quote, leave them with a challenge, leave them with a call to action. But thank you is just like throwing a bucket of ice cold water on all that hard work you just did for the last 15, 20 minutes or however long your presentation was. Don't do that. It's annoying. You wasted an opportunity to leave somebody with value. Now it's okay to thank an audience in the conclusion. You've been a wonderful audience. I've really enjoyed being with you today. I'm so excited about what we're going to do going forward. And then again, either use that quote, use that call to action, use that goal that we're going to all be shooting for to finish the day off as you end that presentation. But don't end it with thank you, whatever you do.
I love that recommendation. So I really appreciate you walking through that. And I want to reinforce a couple of things for our audience. Having a great attention getter because you want to get their attention right away so that they know you're confident, you're going to give a great message, and then your close, leave with value and a solid conclusion of what they should take home or how they are challenged to take an action. So I really love
Exactly.
that. That's a great thing for even company meetings, even presenting to a small group. I think that's a fantastic suggestion.
And that's another sore point for me. Let me talk to you about that. Your meetings, you have manager minutes. Make sure your managers are keeping it to 1 minute. It does not need to boil over into a 45-minute cuss and fuss session. If you need a cuss and fuss session, then call it that, set it up, and do it somewhere else. But don't do it in your manager minute. Discipline your people, discipline yourself, that you're in there doing that for as long as you need to do that. This is not the time to be chasing rabbits. Now, it's not to say that some good ideas might not come up in some of those meetings, but that's where you have a sandbox or parking lot, that sort of thing. Oh, that's a great idea. We need to drill down into that, but we don't have time on the agenda today. Make me a note, put that on there, or hey, let's schedule a time, uh, get it on my calendar, and let's plan 20 minutes to peel that onion and really get into this, what to see what the potential is for it, what the opportunities are. Um, but stay on, make a plan, stay on that agenda, and end on time, because you want your people there on time. You need to respect their time as well. So it's reciprocal.
Absolutely. You know what? One of the things that I work with my clients on, especially around meetings, is having some standards. What are our meeting standards? You know, we're starting on
Right.
time. We make decisions. We end on time. We come prepared. We're ready to discuss. You know, those are some standards that everybody needs to get into in their meetings. And just like you said,
Sure.
it isn't a cuss and fuss time. It's a time to make decisions. And so many
Right.
places have meetings where they last too long, so everybody gets frustrated with meetings because they aren't productive. So
Correct.
I think
Correct.
that's a great tip. Great tip. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's great. So tell us another story about how you've helped somebody grow themselves. You know, as an individual, how did someone grow in their skill sets or their mindset or their behaviors?
Sure. Well, one of the first things I do with most people as we're getting to know each other and trying to figure out what we need, where they want to work, is that I usually have them do a character strengths assessment. I use the VIA values in action format, and they can go out and do the free one or Clifton Strengths. Do the cheap one first before you do the really big one. If they have a Myers-Briggs or a DISC rating, I like to look at those because I think those are well grounded in in the research out there as a basic starting point. One of my favorites is that, especially with the values in action and those character strengths, I try to look at and discuss with them. Tell me about the first five, and then what was your number 24, right? In terms of those character strengths, um, and what were the surprises? So let me go back to Jeremy. We did that when he first came on board, and love for him was way, way down at 24. Now, 3 years later, we go back to another event, and we're doing that assessment again. And he's like, "Yeah, I've already done that before." But I said, "Yeah, I know, but do it again." In that 3 years, we had a number of military spouses that had come in and started working with us. We had two part-time people and two full-time people, and it was a mixture of males and females. Some were college students of mine at different time that were coming over and doing internships and things like that. Love went from 24 for him to number 5.
Hmm.
Not because he became a hugger or anything like that. He still had problems with hugging. But because he was having to show empathy, because he was having to deploy empathy in understanding other people and what they were bringing to the table, his character strengths grew or adapted depending on the audience that he was having to interact with at the time. So for me, that's a huge thing. With my college students, as they're looking at that, some of them get frustrated with what their top five are and what their last one is. But one of the exciting things is I was talking about this, and I'm trying to get them ready to do an elevator pitch, right? Everybody's got to have an elevator pitch. So I had one little student that decided, I'm just gonna test the old man. I'm just gonna see if the old bald-headed guy really knows what he's doing. So he loaded up with his core study plan and his career guide, and he went and did a little background stuff on it. He went down to the federal courthouse and he got an appointment. I don't know how he got an appointment, but he got an appointment with one of the federal judges down there. And he went in there and said, in less than 2 minutes, sir, this is my name, Tony, and I'm planning to be an attorney, and I want to know how things work. And I was just going to come down here and let you know what my career goals were, and to see if you had any opportunity that you could use an assistant or an intern or some way that I could be where the action is and start learning what's going on in the field. The judge was impressed. The kid came in there in, just a polo, business casual. He looked sharp and he presented himself clearly and fluently and eloquently. And he said, you know what? Come back next week. We're going to find something for you to do. And he put him to work. And so he had a part-time job and clerking for a federal judge for a year. And the tacit knowledge that he picked up from that is just I think it's priceless. As well as he came back and told the class the story, and I was like, "Yeah, so this stuff I'm telling you really works, huh?" And he was like, "Well, I didn't mean it that way, sir." I said, "Well, I appreciate what you did. That's a great story. I really, I'm proud for you and proud of you for taking it and extending it into the other area." So that's a great story. I love telling about him. So.
I love hearing stories like that when people break through their challenges. They break through their mindset, their belief system that they can do new things or they can do hard things. And that's the big part of coaching is helping build confidence, helping build a focus and being most effective with your language and your words and how you communicate. So that a
Yeah.
lot of stuff came out of that example you just gave there. So I really appreciate that. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
I would venture that being a coach, you've been coached as well. So
Yes, sir.
I'd love to hear
I
how.
still get coached daily.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to hear how you've been coached and what kind of impact that being coached has made to you.
Well, being coached, being on the receiving end of that, is very helpful to notice uh, what you didn't pack or where you need to put more energy or maybe need to shift your focus a little bit. um, and so I like that. I like to be able to get feedback from people about what's working, why that works for them. And so when I'm being coached, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at how they're packaging that for me so that I can digest it, right? If I can't receive it or I don't understand it, I'm gonna, it just may be flotsam, going through the flow there. I want to be able to understand what it was that I did or didn't do that possibly I should have or should have said it a different way so that it would be better received, right? And so the value for me in terms of being coached is that it keeps me humble, it keeps me focused, it keeps me zeroed in on the target, right? Because none of us like to waste time or energy or effort or resources. And so that's the good thing.
I loved how you said that. It keeps us humble. And no matter how good somebody might be, no matter what position they have, they can benefit from coaching because just as you said, it helps them see zero in on your target, help make sure you get rid of some distractions, whatever it might be, and helps you look at what your blind spots are. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a big value of that so many people miss by not having a coach is we all have blind spots, both of us included.
Right. And the value is that of course that other person has that, whatever that different angle is, has that perspective on whatever the issue is, the challenge, the gap. And so by having the advantage of that angle of view, that perception, now I can see maybe not 360, but I can see around the corner. I can see other sorts of things to help fill in the picture for me, help connect the dots. So that now I have a panoramic view of it not just from my chair, but from other people's point of view as well. And so with a comprehensive picture, then I feel better informed, and I feel empowered. Right, that empowerment is really key for our teams to feel like they can make choices, they can make input influence, they can make decisions that we're not going to take their head off because they took a little initiative on something. Now, when you have 5-year-olds making 5-year-old mistakes, that's one thing, right? When you have 50-year-olds making 5-year-old mistakes, that's a different conversation. But there are some things, if you talk to my spouse, she will tell you that there's some things that I don't act my age about, and she has to. It's a point of irritation for her, and she's real quick to let me know. Um, and so, a lot of times I have to just tip my hat. Yes, ma'am. Yep, I get it. I won't be making that mistake again. And she says, "Well, that's what I'm worried about. You're going to go find something else to mess up." Um, it's a journey, right? We're all in discovery mode, and
Absolutely.
so for the next opportunity.
You just said it as a phrase of discovery mode. And when we get out of
Yes,
that
sir.
discovery mode about ourselves and our behaviors, then things are over. We've got to continue to grow. If we're not growing, we're dying. And that's a part of that discovery because we get to the next level and there's always things that we're not seeing. You go to the next level, you're missing something, and that's what helps you go to the next level is having that discovery mindset.
Sure. And that's one of the things that really frustrates me. I see a lot of folks that present themselves as change managers. Um, I'm sorry, but change is constant. It's yeah. It's more about discovery. Here are more opportunities. This is what we were doing, and we have an opportunity to grow into this area, to get out of that mess and come over here and really improve this over here. Um, Change is a constant thing. The and if you're not embracing that, if you are not looking to your people and to your team about how they're managing that change and how they're coping with that change, then you're hurting. I was really surprised. The latest Gallup research, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was Pew, they came out and said that 34%, no, it was Gallup, 34% of all team members do not feel like they belong on the team. Now, that's not an employee problem. That's a
Nope.
leadership. Leadership is not pouring into them to the point that they understand they are making contribution to the team, that they are bringing value to the table every day that they show up. And so, bottom line is leadership's got to do a better job of that. Um, because you've got to be able to rely on your people. And if they don't feel like they belong on the team, then how much effort are they really going to put into any activity that they do? They're primarily putting activity into figuring a way to get out and go work somewhere else that they will be valued, right? And so you've spent a lot, no small amount of money, no small amount of time in trying to recruit them and to get them on board and onboarding them and setting them up as an employee. I think one study I recently heard by the Society for Human Resource Managers showed that it takes 100 to 150% of that position's salary to replace somebody.
Yep.
That's exorbitant, and it's a waste when it really doesn't take that much to say good morning to somebody and ask them, how's their day going, or do you need anything to be able to do your job better? That management, my wandering around and meeting your people and talking to them and see them at the hockey game or see them at the wrestling tournament or wherever you see them at, to take just a minute to talk to them. It doesn't take very much to show people you care. And so you've got to pour into them somehow or another.
I want to make sure our audience, the achiever, caught that last point that you've got to take care of your people. You got to communicate, you got to be in front of them, you got to show that you care and that you appreciate them.
Right.
And 34% don't believe they feel part of the team, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
And that's a big challenge that this world has.
That's a
And
third of the
so
workforce that's just hanging around, burning up oxygen, collecting a check. Yeah, they're pushing the ball a little bit, but if you're relying on them to score the touchdown, you haven't poured into them sufficiently to make them want to cross that line. So we've got to do better there. We've got to do better.
absolutely. Absolutely. Just a couple more thoughts that I want to talk
Sure.
about. If you were talking to someone that is considering being coached, what recommendation would you give them as they're evaluating whether they should get a coach or not?
Well, let's see. That's a great question. The biggest thing is I would ask them in terms of what results were they trying to achieve? What are your goals? And then in terms of coaching, where do you see the gaps at this point? In terms of your strengths, what is it that you think you don't have in your toolkit or resources to help you achieve that? And then, of course, that would be inclination for me to either suggest some readings, maybe some videos, and then us reflect on that and talk about the lessons learned there. And then maybe we can do some exercises with them and their people potentially as well down the line to begin to get it to mesh and get their legs under them a little bit as it relates to that.
I appreciate you sharing that because it is about results.
Yes.
Everybody should be working towards something, no matter where they are in their career, no matter what position they have, they should be working towards something. And
Right.
that's what has to be clear. And sometimes a coach can help you bring clarity to that, and
Right.
people need help getting there. But it's then identifying what are the gaps? What are the gaps that's going to keep me from getting from here to there?
Right.
And so I appreciate that insight and that
Yeah.
recommendation.
The other thing I would ask them is, do you have a career plan already in place? And what are your top three personal initiatives that you're trying to accomplish for yourself this year? So for me, I'm trying to learn Spanish. I'm trying to get better at watercolor uh, painting, and then I'm branching out on a new thing with my gardening in that I'm going to try to go all organic and doing all my compost from the beginning and all of that kind of thing. And I talk about that with people
Mhm.
because I want them to know I'm a work in progress. And if I'm a work in progress as the founder and CEO, you should be working on some things as well. Because yeah, I'm almost 65 years old, but there's still much to learn. There's still much I want to learn. There's still much I want to go do. I don't think I'm going to take up skydiving. I see no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. But I'm willing to try a whole bunch of things. And so with that in mind, what's your career plan? Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And have you mapped that out? What does your network tell you about that? What does your network look like? Porter Gale put it out a couple of years ago in 2013 in his treatise, Your Network is Your Net Worth, right? And would love to help folks with networking because I benefit by their networking and helping them figure out ways to go into that because I normally have to go a little ways into that field to know who the players are and to help shepherd them a little bit. So it keeps expanding my network. So I love helping people with that part of the project as well.
I love to see your passion, and that's what a great coach does as well, is they express their passion, they show care and interest in helping people achieve their goals. And so, I really appreciate your time today. I got one last question that I
Sure.
always like to ask is, why do you believe coaching works? Our
Well,
podcast is called Why Coaching Works, so I want to
why coaching
hear.
works. I think Zig Ziglar, uh, the guy that kind of set the field out there. I think he said it best. I feel like if I help enough people get what they want and they need, that the universe is going to take care of me as well. And so I was raised that way through the scout troop. Take care of your kit, take care of your troops, take care of your patrol first, and then take care of yourself. Simon Sinek's made a bunch of money off of that same principle. Leaders eat last, and he wrote a little book on it. And, we've been living this all my life. That rascal. And so why coaching works? Coaching works because you're helping other people get what they need and what they want to achieve. It'll come back to you down the road. And so that's why I pour into folks like I do, because I know the universe is going to take care of me eventually, and all boats get lifted on that same rising tide. So let's all get in there and row best we can.
I love it. I love it. Your phrase that you said, help get what they need. A
Yes,
great coach is helping other people get what they need when they need it. And so
exactly.
thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. Charles, I really appreciate your time today. I love the interaction, love to talk to other coaches and hear what impact they're making on the world. And so I want to encourage our audience to on a couple things that Charles said today. Number one is, in your meetings, have discipline. Have discipline in your agenda and sticking to the topic and not go down the rabbit holes. The other one was the communication. Having a great attention getter, having a solid conclusion, and leaving with value. And then this last section, why coaching works, it's helping others get what they need. So hopefully everyone who's listening today took away a couple thoughts that you can improve yourself in being a coach, whether you're coaching a client or you're coaching a employee. And so everybody can impact and be impacted by coaching. So thank you for joining us today on Why Coaching Works. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for listening to the Why Coaching Works podcast. I hope this episode has helped you see the individual, business, and executive impact, growth, and development that coaching provides. Please take a second to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Each review helps me impact more people just like you and make a difference in this world. See you on the next episode of Why Coaching Works.